Here we are, the third episode of this little Mike Does Bodywork series. Never thought that we'd get here. Never thought that I'd be filming with a GoPro, but here we are. So let's hope this journey continues and keeps going as nice as it is. And learn to stop moving around on the camera, because when you're watching it on the big screen, I know it makes people kind of... That's alright, that's not why we're here. Why we're here is we have this Volkswagen Golf that's in here, GTI. I'm sorry, I know there's a difference. GTI that's here for some major repairs, as you can see, considering that it's kind of naked. So what I'm covering in this video basically are how we take structural pieces and put them back on your car. This here, the part that's still white, is called the quarter panel, because it's a quarter of the car or something like that, I think. Underneath it, we have all the structure and the bones of the car. A lot of it you may have never seen before, which is fine. And that's why I do these, so you can kind of see what it's all like inside. Now, when we're doing structural pieces, or how a vehicle is actually built together, all of this is not just one big piece. We zoom in, you see where these two panels are flanged, and you see these little circles right here. And here, 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 and pretty much all over the car. You can keep going. But those are called spot welds. They're not tack welds. They're not plug welds. I do plug welds with a MIG welder, which I'll explain later, but these are what are called spot welds. It's where the factory takes a squeeze-type resistance spot welder, zaps it with a ton of electricity, basically, liquefies the metal, and it all fuses together in a nice weld. We have to do this in structural areas because of how advanced steel is becoming. It's not like the old days to where it was just big old, 16, 18 gauge mild steel that you just beat into place and beat into submission and threw some heat on it to shape. No, this stuff is actually ultra high strength steel, alloyed high strength steel, and high strength steel. When you heat it, it does become stronger, but it also becomes more brittle. So if I was to heat, like here, this is ultra high strength steel. If I was to heat this up and then you were to get hit in it again, it will not perform like it's supposed to save your life. That's another reason why you always want to choose wisely where you're getting your body work, because this is your life that you're dealing with. It's not just the cosmetics of the vehicle. So dealing with strengths of steel like this, you need to have the right type of tools, which is why we have the Carolina CTR 12,000 spot welder. This big bad mamma jamma was required by Volkswagen to be in the shop in order for us to be a Volkswagen certified repair facility. What it allows us to do is it allows us to make repairs in the fashion that the factory actually made, so we're restoring the crash performance to your vehicle. Here's the quarter panel. And she's all prepped up and ready to actually go on to the vehicle. A couple of quick points. This primer that you see right here, this is weld-through primer. It's recommended that I use that in between the panel flanges that are going to be welded, so that when some of the finish burns off from the welding process, it's still encapsulated behind all the rest of the primer, so that if any moisture does get in there, it can't find its way to the weld. And another thing that I'm going to be using besides spot welds, I'm going to be using 3M's impact resistant panel bonding adhesive. The impact resistant stuff is critical in the structural areas, just because, like I said before, I don't want you to die if you get hit again. And the last thing I'm going to be using to put on this quarter panel is MIG welding. So I'm going to be overlapping it right here with a backer plate and doing plug welds through here to secure these two pieces together, and then when I bond the quarter panel to the rocker panel. So I'll give you a couple of how we goes and how we do it. You'll see me using the actual spot welder, and hopefully I don't blow up the GoPro with the magnetic field that it puts out. So keep watching. So alright, I got the panel bond on the quarter panel. The quarter panel's fitted back to the car. I already checked my gaps with my door and everything, so that's all good. If you're ever putting on a quarter, make sure you do that. I got the big old welding arm in my hands now for our spot welder. And as you can see, this thing is a big boy. It weighs a lot. There's usually a hook that goes in here to help you out, but I hate that thing. I'd rather just, kind of gain some muscle. So I have the camera kind of far away because I don't want to fry the thing. This thing puts off a huge magnetic field, which you might see when I use a shunt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a couple of welds really quick for you. What I have to do is I have to put this vice grip right by where I'm welding. And the way this machine works is that it uses your previous weld as a way to kind of send the electricity back to it, for lack of better terms. So what I do is I simply put it on, and then that tells me that I didn't have a good weld. So what this is doing is when you look at these welds, they're actually like the factory spot welds. And so what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to go around the car, and every little spot that you see that the paint is ground off, I'm going to put one of these spot welds. Up here, I'm going to do some MIG welding. And like I've already said, we already got panel bond all around the entire thing. So it's really complicated to put a side back on your car. I'll come back, we'll see what it's like when it's all done, and then we'll go from there. So now we've finished doing all of our spot welding around the panel. And now all those little circles, once this vehicle's painted, are going to look like factory spot welds. So it's going to be another little bit of an invisible repair, which is what we really want to do. The best repair I can do is a repair to where you have no idea that I did anything to your vehicle. So now what we have to do is seal up this seam. I can't just glue that together because, like I've said before, this is part of the structure of the vehicle. This helps brace everything whenever you're hit from the side. So I have to take my MIG welder now and run a bead across there. Here's my MIG welder. It's my own little Lincoln 110. I love this little thing. Basically, when you're welding, inside of the welder, you have this copper wire that gets fed through the machine. This is a shielding gas. It helps protect the weld zone when you're welding from any kind of impurities in the air. Here's my trigger. When I pull the trigger, that little bit of wire right there comes out, and from in there, gas, the shielding gas comes out, creating the weld. So, trying to find a great camera angle for you. Should have had this all planned out. So looking behind me, you can see my weld area. What we want to do first with this process is we want to just tack it all in place. The thing with metal is when it gets hot, it shrinks, starts to bind up like this. So what I want to do is I want to run as many tacks along here as I can. So therefore, the metal will kind of be held in place. And when I actually weld, I'm not just going to go straight across. I'm going to do a little bit here, 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 and a little bit there, then a little bit there, then a little bit there, until it's all completely welded. I'm still going to get a little bit of shrinkage, but that'll minimize it from getting buckles all around the quarter panel so that I don't have to put body filler all the way around the thing. So let's just show you briefly how you do some tack welds. Now when you're welding, your welds are thousands of degrees, so it's good to wear a glove, which as you can see, imagine if that was my bare hand. Plenty of protection for your eyes because you don't want to fry your retinas. And usually I have a welding jacket on, but I like to represent the Hall VW thing. And I have a respirator on, but you want to be able to hear me talking if I was wearing this and I was trying to just instruct you guys on the camera. So just tack her in place really quick. And before you start, one last thing I want to say. Make sure you disconnect the battery or use a surge protector. Otherwise you'll fry all kinds of stuff on the vehicle. Alright, so now the panel's all tacked in place, and so what I'll do now is I'll put a couple of welds on there and then kind of just beat everything flush so that when I'm done welding, the weld's actually going to sit a little bit lower than the panel is. So I'm going to put fiberglass body filler in there. Why? So that's a waterproof weld, you're absolutely right. So after I do that, I want to make sure that there's enough room for all the body fillers, because if I'm too tall, it will never blend in properly, but I want to be lower than the actual panel. So when we're done, we'll come back, we'll take a look at it. For now, I'm going to start welding without barbecuing my arms anymore. Now, finished welding, finished grinding as you saw in the video. The fiberglass is put onto the vehicle. So this quarter panel is officially 100% attached to the car. We have through the wheel wells and underneath we have impact resistant 3M panel mods. We have welds down through here. We have welding straight across right there. And then we have spot welds going all the way through the window and then down the body again. So now comes time to do the rocker panel, which we're just going to skip over, but give you a little piece of this. Because I had to get these pieces in two pieces from Volkswagen, I have to join them together at the factory seam. What I have to use is a backing point. This will go behind the two panels, the quarter panel and the rocker panel that I'm welding, and I will use this as another reinforcement to weld together. So let's just say you get hit right there, right where my weld is. You're going to have as much protection as you need now for those welds not to fail, because there's going to be plug welds here, 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 and then a bead all the way down the middle of this backer. So once we're all done putting that rocker on, and once I get her through paint, I'll show it to you one more time, and then we'll be a wrap for episode 3, but here's a close-up of the fiberglass. So, like we know, these two pieces are two completely different pieces. Once that fiberglass cures, I'll sand it down and then use, that's right, plastic body filler. And the reason why we use fiberglass was, that's right, to waterproof it. Don't mind me. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 7-month-old. I've been watching a lot of television with a certain Spanish explorer and her monkey friend, and then a lot of TV with this guy and his blue dog. And they tend to ask the audience a lot of questions, and I find myself going over there a lot. So if I try to do that, I'm just trying to encourage you to remember what I've taught you from other episodes, and hopefully we can all come away with knowing a little more than we did. So So now we're done with the welding, painting, putting the car back together, and here's the end result. We're still waiting to get our window put back in. That's why it hasn't been sent to detail yet. And usually I can catch it before it leaves here, so that's when I would show you after it's been detailed and completely done. But here we are. You can see here that you would have no idea that I welded these two together. Now, we did the brand new fender right here, brand new door skin right here. The rocker is brand new all the way up to the front. We know that the quarter up to right here is all brand new. Didn't do anything with the bumper cover, unfortunately. Repaired her deck lid. Volkswagen has a rust warranty, and lift gate rather. And it rust red around here, so if you have a hatchback that's 12 years old and less than 100,000 miles as a Volkswagen, come bring it down to us. We also did a repair to this quarter panel. And then we haven't done anything up here. Now, like I said, the car may be dusty and dirty, but that's just because, like I said, it hasn't gone to detail yet. So a couple of other things to consider. Whenever you're going somewhere and they're doing major structural repairs like that on your vehicle, one of the things that I had to add to this was this nice little 3M cavity wax. What you want to make sure that it gets done is this gets put in the vehicle, because otherwise all those nice fancy repairs that I just did are just going to rust out, and it was kind of pointless for me to even do them in the first place because I did more damage to your vehicle than I actually fixed. So you're going to want to make sure that everybody does cavity wax and takes care of it all. So that's it for this one. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you picked up some things on welding. Until next time.